Lost in the unknown, the journey beyond West Africa to Europe too. As Kofi ventured deeper into the strange and unfamiliar land, he found himself in a sprawling city that loomed with towering buildings of glass and steel. It was a stark contrast to the dense jungles and dusty village of his homeland. The city was a maze of concrete canyons, its streets teeming with people of different languages, cultures, and colors. Kofi, with Bamba by his side, was a mere speck in this vast, bustling metropolis. Days turned into endless nights in the surreal realm where Kofi found himself. He traversed landscapes that defied the laws of nature, where trees whispered sinister secrets and the sky hung heavy with the weight of forgotten sorrows. His journey became a descent into madness, where the boundaries between reality and nightmare blurred into an indistinguishable haze. As Kofi wandered through this bizarre and twisted world, he encountered spectral figures, shadowy beings with hollow eyes that seemed to peer into his very soul. They spoke in riddles and rhymes, their voices echoing through the eerie silence. They told him of forgotten tales and cursed legacies, of the darkness that dwelled in the hearts of men. The more Kofi learned, the more he realized that the road he had taken was not just a physical journey, but a metaphysical one, a passage through the realms of fear and the unknown. He began to understand that the cloaked figures from the forest were not mere mortals, but beings from a place beyond the boundaries of human comprehension. As his perception of reality unraveled, Kofi felt an insatiable hunger for answers. He yearned to find Bamba, the stuffed bear that had been his only source of comfort on this terrifying eggplant. In his dreams, or were they nightmares, Bamba appeared to him, a beacon of hope in the darkness, guiding him toward an enigmatic destination. One day, Kofi came upon a vast, desolate wasteland, where twisted and gnarled trees formed grotesque shapes against a blood-red sky. The air was thick with an oppressive malevolence, and the ground beneath his feet seemed to writhe with unseen terrors. In the distance, he saw an ominous structure, an ancient, decaying mansion that loomed like a dark sentinel. With trepidation, Kofi approached the mansion, its grandeur faded into a macabre decay. As he pushed open the creaking doors and stepped inside, he felt an overwhelming sense of foreboding. The mansion was a labyrinth of endless corridors and shadowy chambers, each filled with haunting echoes of its past inhabitants. In one room, Kofi discovered a collection of forgotten memories, fragments of lives that had been shattered by the malevolent forces that dwelled in the mansion. Tattered photographs and diaries spoke of lost love, unspeakable horrors, and the insatiable pursuit of power. In another chamber, he encountered a mirror that reflected not his own image, but the faces of the cloaked figures who had drawn him into this nightmarish world. They stared back at him with hollow eyes, whispering in a chorus of voices that echoed through his very soul. With each step he took, Kofi felt himself being drawn deeper into the mansion's dark heart, a place where time and space twisted upon themselves. He was pursued by phantoms of his own fears and desires, tormented by visions that seemed to taunt him with the promise of answers just out of reach. And then, in the darkest recesses of the mansion, Kofi found what he had been searching for, a room filled with forgotten toys, each imbued with a sinister aura. And there, at the center of the room, stood Bamba, his button eyes glistening with an eerie light. Kofi rushed forward, tears streaming down his face, and embraced his long-lost companion. But as he did, he realized that Bamba was not just a stuffed bear, but a vessel for the malevolent spirits that had ensnared him. Bamba's eyes bore into Kofi's soul, and he heard a chorus of voices that spoke of ancient curses and forbidden knowledge. Desperate to break free from the sinister hold of the mansion and the spirits that inhabited it, Kofi made a choice that would forever alter the course of his journey. With a heavy heart, he cast Bamba aside, severing the connection that had bound him to the malevolent forces. As Kofi fled the mansion and the surreal realm that had ensnared him, he felt a sense of liberation and dread. The road that had led him from West Africa to Europe had taken him on a harrowing aid-wail through the darkest recesses of his own psyche. a journey into the depths of fear and the unknown. With each step he took, Kofi felt himself returning to the world of the living, leaving behind the nightmares and terrors that had haunted him. He emerged from the realm of the unknown, forever changed and forever haunted by the knowledge that the road he had traveled was a treacherous path that led not only to Europe, but to the darkest corners of the human soul. And so, Kofi's Adawale came to an end, but the scars of his journey would remain with him for a lifetime. He had ventured into the unknown, faced his deepest fears, and glimpsed the darkness that dwells within us all. In the end, he had learned that the road to the unknown was not a path to be taken lightly, for it was a journey that could lead to salvation or damnation, to enlightenment or madness, to a place where the line between reality and nightmare was forever blurred. Hungry and weary, Kofi searched for food and shelter, but the city was a cold and unforgiving place. People hurried past him, their faces hidden behind masks of indifference. He felt like a ghost, invisible to the world around him. The city's towering buildings seemed to whisper secrets of their own, and the neon signs that bathed the streets in an eerie glow only added to the surreal atmosphere. With each passing day, Kofi's sense of isolation grew. He wandered through the city's labyrinthine streets, his eyes wide with wonder and fear. The sights and sounds of this new world were both captivating and overwhelming. Yet, as he ventured deeper into the heart of the city, he couldn't help but notice a subtle shift in the atmosphere. It was as though the city itself held a dark secret, one that was slowly revealing itself to him. One night, as Kofi huddled in a dark alleyway, seeking refuge from the biting cold, he heard whispers in a language he couldn't understand. He peered around the corner and saw a group of shadowy figures gathered in a circle. Their faces were hidden beneath hooded cloaks, and their voices were low and haunting. Kofi's heart raced as he watched them perform a ritual that sent shivers down his spine. Bamba's button eyes stared up at Kofi, reflecting his own fear and confusion. He knew he had stumbled upon something sinister, something that he couldn't comprehend. As the cloaked figures chanted in eerie unison, a feeling of dread washed over him. The next morning, Kofi decided to leave the city behind. He had heard whispers of a place on the outskirts, a small village where people still lived simple lives and showed kindness to strangers. With Bamba in tow, he set out on the journey once again, hoping to find solace and a sense of belonging. But as he reached the outskirts of the city, the road grew darker and more foreboding. The trees that lined the path seemed to reach out like gnarled hands, their branches casting eerie shadows on the ground. Kofi's footsteps echoed ominously, and a sense of being watched followed him like a haunting specter. As he ventured deeper into the wilderness, Kofi noticed strange symbols etched into the tree trunks, symbols he couldn't decipher but that filled him with unease. The air grew thick with an otherworldly chill, and the woods seemed to close in around him. Kofi's heart pounded, and he quickened his pace, desperate to escape this eerie place. Suddenly, he heard a voice, a ghostly whisper that seemed to come from all directions at once. It beckoned him, called his name, and promised secrets beyond imagination. Bamboo trembled in Kofi's arms, and the stuffed bear's button eyes seemed to take on a life of their own. Kofi wanted to run, to flee from this haunted forest, but something compelled him to follow the voice, to step off the path and into the darkness. He moved deeper into the woods, the voice growing louder and more insistent. It was as though he had been ensnared in a web of malevolent enchantment. The further he went, the more the forest transformed around him. Trees twisted and contorted, their branches forming grotesque shapes. Strange creatures with glowing eyes darted through the underbrush, watching him with a hunger that sent chills down his spine. And then, just when Kofi thought he could go no further, he stumbled upon a clearing bathed in an eerie, ethereal light. In the center of the clearing stood a gnarled tree, its roots reaching deep into the earth. At its base lay a stone altar, covered in strange markings and surrounded by candles flickering in the ghostly breeze. Kofi's heart raced as he realized he was not alone. The cloaked figures from the city stood around the altar, their eyes gleaming with an otherworldly light. They chanted in a language that echoed through the clearing, and their hands moved in strange, ritualistic gestures. As the ritual reached its climax, Kofi's world spun into a whirlwind of darkness and terror. He felt himself being pulled into an abyss, a place where reality and nightmare merged into one. Bamba slipped from his grasp, and Kofi's screams were drowned out by the haunting chant of the cloaked figures. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, the world went black. Kofi awoke in a place that was neither here nor there, a realm of shadows and echoes. Bamba was nowhere to be seen, and Kofi felt a deep sense of loss and despair. He had embarked on a journey to escape his past and find a better life, but he had been drawn into a nightmare from which there seemed to be no escape. As Kofi wandered through this surreal landscape, he couldn't help but wonder if he had crossed a threshold into a world beyond the living, a realm where the unknown held sway. The road that had brought him here had been filled with wonder and terror, but now he faced a journey into the deepest recesses of his own fear and longing, a journey from which there might be no return. And so, Kofi's Eidwail continued, his path shrouded in darkness and uncertainty, as he sought to uncover the secrets of the road to the unknown, a road that had led him to a place where nightmares and dreams converge, where reality and the supernatural intertwined, and where the true horrors of the human heart were laid bare.